Hey guys, awesome video is on the way for you guys, and I'm going to show you guys how to make your own custom onboard air system for right around $200–$300, but it's completely customizable to your own specs. My configuration will be around $200–$300. DIY is always the best way. That's why I'm on this 5-gallon tank. We should be able to run some air tools off of it, air up our tires, and maybe even use air lockers in the future. So let's go ahead and get right into it. It's going to be a long video, maybe 2 or 3 parts, so get a bucket of popcorn. So what's going to be powering our whole system? This is SJCAM M10 Wifi air compressor, $50 on Amazon, and we have 2 of them, so $100 for dual compressors. Really good deal. Let's go ahead and unbox. Here they are unboxed. Comes in a nice nylon bag here. So we already have these 2, and we're going to set these up to go inside the Jeep. They're going to be mounted up under the rear passenger seats. Heat probably shouldn't be a problem, but I mean, we'll get there when we get there. I haven't done this before. So we're going to go ahead and start off by taking off these air gauges, air pressure gauges, the built-in ones. They come up right here. I've already took this one off, and we have some plugs from Home Depot that will plug them up. So I have the plug right here. It's a 1/8, and I'm going to Teflon tape it so that it closes shut. And a good pro tip is to go the reverse direction of the threads. If you're going to tighten it, you're going to turn it this direction. So you want to go in the opposite direction so that as you go, the Teflon tape will strengthen, will tighten up. Let me see if I can do this a little better. Just like that. And then I want to go ahead and thread it in. Let's see if I have don't really have a proper sized tool yet, so I'll just use this adjustable. Been working on a mounting system for mounting these 2 compressors under this seat, because I never ever fold down this seat anyways, so this is just wasted space. So I figured I could utilize it by putting these compressors under here, and there's lots of room for the compressors to breathe, so it's not a problem with heat or anything like that. So all I have left is to drill in some holes to actually mount the compressors to the plate itself, and then I'll show you guys the plate a little bit later after I file it down and paint it and it's ready for installation. But essentially, I got a piece of cardboard first and then traced out a template and then cut it out and then made modifications so I can just use seat bolts that go in there, so I don't have to drill anything into the bottom of the Jeep. So it just goes into this bolt right here in the back, right here and here. And you guys have seen me deal with these bolts, how to take them out and stuff like that when I did that seat recline mod, which is these little black tabs. But anyways, we're gonna cut to some more B-roll of me messing with this bracket. Alright, I just cut a gaping hole into my Jeep. A lot of you guys are going to comment, oh my god, why would you do that to a $20,000 car? Too bad. We're getting a cool switch panel. Look at that. Actually fits pretty nice. There's the switch panel. Fits actually really nice. I just used the Dremel tool and a little bit of using the box cutter. and that cuts through the plastic really easy. This is really delicate plastic. This is where the switch is gonna go, somewhere right here, or one of these slots, and then I have a few blanks to put in right here, so it'll just look clean. There won't just be any holes. Probably go in this one. I won't push this all the way in yet because it locks in place, and it's a little hard to wire back here because there's not much space to put my fingers. So the idea is to run the wire out the hole into the switch, and then when everything is good to go, just put the switch into here, and then it'll be all finished. So now let's work on some wiring. So I need a place to mount this relay. It's a starter relay from like a Ford truck or a Mustang or something like that. But this will be used for the compressor system, as well as a 70 amp breaker. And pretty much the breaker works pretty much as a fuse. I'll explain in a second. But I'll need a place to mount this, and this is a ground mounted place. So this plate right here, the silver plate, needs to mount to a ground. And there's this piece right here that seems like I can drill into really easy. Just avoid these two pinch welds right here, and then put in a bolt, and it should be grounded. I'll just sand this off and it should be okay. As for this breaker, I'm probably just gonna end up zip tying it to something. It just doesn't need to move, or maybe I can mount it up to like one of the side of the battery tray or something like that. But for now, this will go right here. And it's better if you mount this solenoid closer to the battery, because 4-gauge wire, 2-gauge wire, really thick wire like that is pretty expensive. And if you're a baller and you got it, then you got it, ball out. But for your boy, it's pretty broke, so it'll be a really quick running to here. Just right here, this is like 2 inches, and then from this point right here into the cab and to the compressors. And I'll show you guys how I wire it up. I'm going to drill into the Jeep right now and get this relay and this breaker set up. Alright, so here it is. So I still got to sand this plate right here, this little area where it mounts up, so it'll ground. So to mount up the circuit breaker, 70 amp, I just made a plate out of that tin, or the 8-gauge aluminum or whatever. Spray painted it wrinkle black, and then I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to use these 2 studs that are already in the engine bay. This plate will hold it like that. So here is the wrinkle black edition after paint. My mounting bracket for the compressors is where the compressors will go. This is under the seat. You guys will see when I put all this into the Jeep. But for now, I'm going to assemble and put the compressors on the plate before I put it in the Jeep. Here it is. There's one, and then the other one will go right there. So we're going to use the existing hardware for the seats, or for the seat. So just 3 bolts, 1 in the back, 2 in the front. So this is what it looks like all mounted up. The bracket looks pretty good. Use the existing bolts 1, 2, and 3 right there. And then here it is. So don't worry about the air connections. We're going to tie that up in a second. And also the wires coming out of the compressors, we'll deal with that in a minute. That's pretty much how it'll look like when I bolt in the seats. But for now, that's what it looks like. And as you guys can see, there's lots of room around the compressors, so they don't catch my carpet on fire or anything. It looks pretty good. So I got this switch from Atra, or Atra, however you want to pronounce it. And it also comes with a sick wiring diagram. Pretty much you line up the pins on the back with this, and it tells you exactly how to do it. I've already ran a wire for the 2 and the 3, so it goes to the breaker and the relay. Those are these wires right here. I ran them all the way through, and back through the hole in the firewall, all the way back to where the switch is going to be, and the 2 leads are already on there. This is for the ground. Already made a ground wire. It's pretty much this, and this will go. There's a metal frame for the dash, and I'll just tie it into there. Really easy. This number 7 is going to be jumper to number 8, and I'll show you guys how to do that and how I'm going to do that. And this number 6 is going to go to the dimmer for the dash lights, and I'll show you guys exactly how to do that right now. You want to get into your Jeep Wrangler and pry these window switches off. I don't know, this procedure obviously won't work if you have a manual system, but you want to pop it out. You just get a flat head and just push it under, and it pops out. And then you want to disconnect the harness. Just push up that little red switch, and then there's a tab you push down. There you go. Actually, you know what? So I can show you guys better, I'm going to take off the dash so you can see the wires easier. Give me a second. So you want to go ahead and find the thinnest wire, which will be a orange and gray. Orange main color with a gray stripe down the middle. And then what I'm going to do is get a knife and scrape away at that. Make sure you disconnected your battery terminal by now, and then solder on a 14 gauge wire to go to my switch. Alright, the plan is not to set my Jeep on fire while I'm trying to solder shit. Alright, so there's that orange and gray wire. I don't know if you guys can see the gray, but it's pretty much the thinnest wire out of the whole bunch, maybe a 16 gauge wire, and I just have 14 gauge wire going to it. You guys may argue that I need to do 16 gauge wire, don't have any. This will be just fine for my application. Soldered it on like that. Should be really easy. Now I'm going to route this cable behind the dash and maybe up atop just to get to this switch panel right here. Alright, so it's about time to do the jumper wire from the 7 slot to the 8 slot. 8 slot's going to go to the ground, and so you want to just run a wire from here to here. That's really easy. Got 14 gauge wire here, and it's going to go like a loop right here, and then this is going to be crimped together with this one to plug into this port right here. Just going to make a quick short wire. And it's just going to go together pretty much like that. So you want to get this wire, these two wires together, and then twist them together, and then get your female connector, crimp it down, and then all you need to do is add a female connector right here. But I'm going to add a little bit of, because I'm OCD, I like to add some heat shrink. Okay, there it is. The compressors go to the jumper cables here because this compressor is meant for, or the intended purpose is, you can plug it up to your battery and then just run it off like that. However, I wanted to do like an integrated system into my Jeep with a switch, so I don't have to get out. I can just flick the switch and then plug up my tires, and you know what I mean. So I disconnected the two positive jumper terminals right here, and what I'm going to do is solder these two together and to this 4 gauge wire. Oh shit! Hey! This 4 gauge wire will go to the relay, and then we'll take it on from the relay to the breaker, then the breaker to the battery, I believe. Anyways, you'll see that in a second. What I'm going to do now is strip the wires down a little bit, strip down this 4 gauge wire, and then put them together. I don't know if this heat shrink is large enough for this. It's not. Just gotta make that avatar connection. and wrap it around. Now it's time to solder. Alright, fast forward a few hours and I got it all wired up. I'm gonna talk about all this wiring on a wiring diagram so it's a lot easier to follow. Actually, you know, I'm gonna put the clip in right now of me talking about how to wire this up. Alright, here's the wiring diagram. You guys might want to just like capture the screen right there. But essentially, you have the battery. Oh, oops. You have the battery going to the breaker, and the breaker cuts off and goes to the relay. And the breaker also is connected to the switch on this prong right here. The relay is triggered by this wire that goes from the switch in this prong right here. From the relay, all that power gets transferred to this terminal, which goes to the compressors. The two positives are tied together and goes to one side of the relay. The two negatives go to ground. The relay mounting portion goes to the ground, or if you have a different kind of relay, that goes to the ground. These two prongs go to ground for the lights in the switch, and this wire goes to the orange and gray thin wire in the window controls. So that's pretty much how you do it. In the next video, I'm going to be adding the tank to it, so I'm going to have a pressure cutoff switch as well as a pressure gauge all wired in. So this will be updated next week's video. But if you guys just want to add a compressor, no tank, this is the wiring to do it. But I wanted to show you guys how it all works and show you guys that it actually works. So here's my switch here, everything's hooked up, and the compressors are back here. So, oh, whoops, haven't grounded them yet. I'm gonna wire these grounds to a ground somewhere on the body here, or somewhere up next to the driver's seat. There'd be a good location for that. But for now, just to get it running for you guys, I'm gonna ground it to this door stopper thingy mabobber. Boom, there you go. Now we should be able to fire it up. There it is. So it works pretty good. So we actually got a lot done today. We got all the wiring done. It works. You guys saw that. And all we gotta do is mount the tank as well as run the air lines, and we should be done with the whole project. Alright, so that'll be the end of the video today. Make sure you subscribe to watch part 2. That's coming out next week. So subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, like the video if you liked it. I'll see you guys later. Peace.